Hello everyone, let's do a grappling hook. So here's what we'll do. And it fits pretty well with the other movement mechanics we did, so let's jump over and take a look. So right here inside our version, I'm going to go inside the first person character. And the first thing we'll set up is the actual grappling mechanic. We won't worry about the cable just this moment. So I'm going to do this off of a right mouse button event. And what I want to do when I click the right mouse button is I want to fire a trace to see if we can have any grappling surface, and then if we do, we pull to it. So I'm going to do I'm actually going to do a sphere trace by channel, just to give it a little bit more reliability. So I'm going to do this from the first person camera. So we will get the camera's world location. If I knew how to spell, it would help. And that will be our start point. Now to get our end point, we'll take the forward vector of our camera and we'll add it to the world location by a set amount of units. To get the units, we multiply, convert that pin to a float because we're going to multiply it by this many units in Unreal Space. I think 2000 works pretty good. So from world location, we will add to the forward vectors, which lets it go 2000 units in front, and that's where we want to hit. For the radius, just 10 or so is probably good. But you can turn on this draw, do it, let's just do it. I'm going to turn it on for duration so we can check. Now on our sphere trace, let's add a branch at the end of it so that we can check to make sure we did hit something. For our hit result, let's break it open so we can get access to this location variable. But before we do that, I am going to do a custom event called Grappling. And it's going to take in an input called attach point, which will basically be the vector that our hook hits that we want to pull to. So one thing we do want to do is if we hit a wall, we don't want to teleport directly to that point, otherwise our character will be sticking halfway in. So we're going to add to our location. We're going to get the forward vector that we're facing in, and we're going to do another multiply node, convert that to a pin, and I want to subtract, so minus 55 units from it. So we'll go 55 units ahead of wherever we hit. The reason 55 units is because our capsule component's radius is 55. So if we're that far back, then we have enough space for our capsule to sit. We don't teleport into the wall, stuff like that. So if we have a hit on our sphere trace, we'll get the location, subtract 55 units from our forward vector, and then we can call our grappling function. And we'll plug this attach point directly in. So now down here, I want to add a timeline, because I don't want to just teleport directly there. Call this grapple or whatever you want to call it. Play from start. We want it to go smoothly over a transition, so we don't want to just be like boom boom. Ain't no instant transmission up here. Double click, open it up. I'm going to set its length to about 0.5 seconds, and we'll add a float track. Call this the alpha. Right click and we'll add a key to the curve at time 0, value 0, and then another one at 0.5 and 1. Since timelines work kind of like progress bars, they go from 0 to 1. We can define that based on the time. I'll box select everything, zoom to fit, and then I'm going to right click and hit auto interpolation to where it kind of pulls us. We hit a peak and then we slow down as we get there. Let's go back to the event graph, and what we want to update is our actor's location. So we need to get a start point. Now that we have our end point, let's right click, get actor location. Normally I would just plug this in directly into the lerp that we're going to make, but I've noticed that that kind of has a little hiccup where it constantly updates where you're starting from and ending. So we'll just do this so that we can promote that to a variable, call it our start point. That way it's a little bit smoother. So what we want to do is we want to set actor location. We'll update that based off the lerp and the alpha. So from the new location, we're going to lerp that vector, or linear interpolate, whichever you prefer to call it. I'm going to plug the alpha in, grab out the start point, and hook in the attach point. So now, it works like that. Oh, I didn't hit nothing. Didn't hit nothing. Come on. So we got the grappling mechanic down. Now we need our cable. So I'm going to right click and create a blueprint class of an, down in all classes. If this looks like this, you can just click that little arrow right there. I want a spline mesh actor. And this would be my cable underscore BP. Gonna double click and open it up. Drag it up here. Now for the spline mesh component, I'm just going to choose a cylinder. Now you notice that right here it kind of looks weird. We don't want it to look like that. Right here, the spline up direction and the forward axis, you can adjust this to be what you want. So I want the up direction to be the Y and the forward direction to be the Z. You're going to do this again, but the other one worked perfect. Why? So up is Z, up is Y, forward is Z, and it sits perfectly. Oh, because I'm using the wrong cylinder. Oh, there's two cylinders. This one's in my engine material. This one's in my basic shapes. Okay, make sure you're using the basic shape one. This is my second time recording this because I couldn't get the cable to function just right based on the other parameters, so I'm a fool. But make sure it's this one that has the image of it sitting straight up. Alright, and for the scale, if your spline mesh thingy looks like this, you can adjust the scale of it by clicking this drop down on the advanced. Start scale, I'm going to say 0.05 on the X and the Y. And the end scale, same thing. Yeah. Now we're cooking with peanut oil. Alright. That was very upsetting the last time where it was like, why are you not functioning with the same parameters? Anyway, alright, let's jump ahead and we'll add a material to it, whatever material you like. I like this one. It looks pretty nice. Compile that. Now what we want to do is in here, get rid of all this. Let us create a custom event called set points. This one is going to take in two inputs. The first one is going to be the end point. We don't need a start point because we're going to attach it to the character. We just need to tell it where it's going to end. So we'll add a end point, make it a vector. We'll add one more. That will be our character reference. And then we'll just make it a first person character object reference. And now what we want to do is we want to grab out our spline mesh component and set start and end. Now when you set spline mesh components, they actually work in local space. So right here it says set the start and end position and tangent all in local space. What we actually want is the world space. So there's a way we can do this though. So we are going to get actor transform. This will take the transform of the cable component itself. And then what we can do from that transform is inverse transform location. Now this will convert its world space into local space so that we can find the point we want to attach it to. So since we want to attach it to our player character, we need to get our character's get actor location. So we will plug this in. It'll calculate the transform against this location to give us our start position. And now we can do the same thing. Inverse transform location based on the end point, and that'll give us our end position. Compile that, go into the first person character and write here where we call our grappling function that moves us. Let us spawn actor from class. Now for the spawn transform, we'll just get actor transform. Plug that in. We want to call our cable component that we just, not component, but cable blueprint that we just made. Then we can promote it to a variable called cable ref. That way, when we set it up in a bit, we're going to make it to where if you right click again, it can destroy the cable and drop you so that you can drop. You don't have to go all the way if you don't want to. And then from that cable reference, we can call our set points function. Now our attach point and end point are the same thing, so we can just plug that in right there. And for the character reference, let's get a reference to the self. So let's jump in and try that out real quick. Oh, let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that debug. Oh, it's holding me down because I didn't destroy it. Is there a collision on that thing? Oh, that's kind of cool too. Neat. Happy accident. Anyway, moving on. So once we are finished grappling, what we want to do is we want to get our cable reference. Oh, not set. We want to get. Right click, convert it to a validated get to make sure it's a valid object before we try to destroy it, and then destroy that bug. Then my cable is destroyed. Now you will notice one thing we need to do is if I attach and then move back, you see it staying behind me. We don't want that. So inside the cable blueprint, right after we set the points, let's create a variable called spawned question mark. No, that's bad practice. Let's do it. Let's call it be spawned, because this is, from what I'm understanding, industry standard. So we'll set this to true. Now up here, let's create an event tick function. I don't like using tick, but for this purpose it works fine. So what we want to do is we want to take our spline mesh component, set start position. Oh, well, we want a branch first. Add a branch with a B, left click. Find out if spawned is true. That way it's not trying to do all this before. So once it's true, then we set the start position. And what we can do is we could just take, let's promote this to a variable called our character ref. That works. Plug that right there and right there. Now grab our character reference and basically take all three of these, the get actor transform, get actor location, and inverse transform. Oh. I forgot to copy everything. Alright. Control C, move it up, Control V. So the actor location we want to get is the character reference. The actor transform is still the cables transform. And then we can just bump this to right there. Now it'll, as our character moves through the air, it'll update and attach basically to our character. Let's see if I can turn quick enough to show it. Yeah. So I look like it's working. Yeah, it's updating now. Now one thing we can do just to make it look a little bit prettier is that instead of making the cable just attach immediately, we can make it look like it's firing. So the way we'll do this is instead of just immediately setting the start and end, let's do a timeline called Hook. Good movie, by the way. Play from start. We'll do a float track. I'm going to make this one 0.25 seconds. It'll also be a float track called alpha. Right click, add key to the beginning, 0, 0 just like last time. 0.25 and 1 on this one. And since we're firing it, it will maintain its velocity. I'm not going to do the auto thing. I'm just going to leave it like, that'll work. Now we are updating our start and end point. We don't need to worry about updating the start point because that up here is being handled. Our end position though, however, we can lerp it based on this alpha. And where we want to update it from is we want it to start at our start point and end at our end point, just like that. So now one more thing we can do over here is when we call our grappling function, we're spawning our hook and setting the points right after. So right here at the beginning of the grappling function, we can set a small delay of 0.25. That way it'll do all its things and then do like it's supposed to. So now, whoa, collision. In the cable blueprint, let's go to the cable mesh component. For the static mesh, let's make sure that it's collision, no collision. Alright, now let's try it one more time. Boom. Ah, it doesn't reach far enough. Ah, okay. Ah, okay, one more thing to note is if we do that and then drop off, you notice I fall in the same direction I was falling. So right here, right as it finishes, let's just set actor velocity. No, how do we do it? Character movement, probably. Set velocity. Yeah, so once it's finished, we just set velocity to 0 so that it just falls where it's at. So if I jump sideways and try to do it, I just fall down. Hey, it's working pretty good. Now we need to do one more thing, because if you click it too soon, then it doesn't register right. So one more thing we can do, right up here where we click right mouse button, find out if we already have a cable. Convert that to a validated get. If it's not valid, we want to create one. If it is valid, we want to destroy that actor. And then we don't really want to do that. We want to just drop. So what we can do is we'll create another custom event called stop grapple. And we'll copy this character movement, because since it's just stopping, it doesn't really count it as finishing, I don't believe. But there's nothing wrong with just setting the velocity to 0, and then we just stop our animation. So we'll call our stop grapple right here. Just like that. So now, if I click it again in midair, I just drop. Come on, there we go. Just like that. And that's working just how we would want it to. Just as a little tweak, let's set up our user interface just so you have a dot to aim with. We'll do that on camera together. If you know how to do that, you don't have to watch this part. But I'm going to just do a user widget called HUD_UI. Double click and open that up. Now, in the new ones in Unreal Engine 5, it doesn't have anything. So the first thing we want to add is a canvas panel. Dropped right there. So once that's on there, then we want an image dropped right onto that canvas panel, and we will anchor it to the direct center. I'm going to set its alignments on the X to 0.5 and 0.5 on the Y, reset its positions back to 0, and then I'm going to set its size X and size Y to 10. Now, I don't like it that it's a square box, so what we can do is under Brush, draw as rounded box, and then it looks like a little dot. That might be a little too big still. Let's try 5 and 5. And then in the first person character, we'll do an event begin play. create widget, the widget being that HUD, and then add to viewport. I hope I'm not going too fast. I'm sure you'll know how to do this part though. So yeah, now we got a little dot that'll help us aim our attachments. 2,000 might not be enough. Let's try 3,000. But it works pretty well with our dash, so you can it's fun. But yeah, in the next one we'll go over how to make it to where you can use this to grab items also. So like if let's say you grapple up somewhere and there's an item way over there you can't get to, you can just shoot it out and grab it. But for now that's it for this one. So if you liked the video, hit that like button, leave a comment, tell me what you'd like to see next, subscribe. It really does help the channel, and I've noticed people do it more when I do ask, so I hate asking, but because I hate to bother y'all, but if you want to help me out, I'd appreciate it. So see y'all in the next one. Bye.